name is Mark Hobart, and together with my colleague Cola here, we're going to present an introductory video on some video shorts on knowledge, and they're entitled What You Don't Know. And policy formation assumes we know what we know. Donald Rumsfeld once said the problem is that we don't know what we don't know. That includes we don't know how unreliable what we think we know is. A series of video shorts will bring that to your attention, and that's what this is introducing. The basic references are here, and there's some more references. I'm going to skip through most of these pages. Pause it when you're watching it, and you can print out the screen and study these things at your leisure. Rumsfeld's rules down here. Knowledge, how to rebuild civilization in the aftermath of a cataclysm when we're in danger of losing our knowledge. Lean knowledge management by NASA, a practical knowledge management program. And finally, the tyranny of the experts. We'll get to that in a moment as well. And then here's some other references. We'll just pass through those. Designing catastrophic policies is, of course, based on what we know. The problem is that what we know isn't perfect. An essential skill in policy formation is being skeptical of what we think we know. Knowledge is a strategic asset and consists of two separate major problems. The first is to have the knowledge assembled to conduct emergency and disaster management, which must be readily available after a catastrophe. The second is that the body of knowledge assembled by civilization must be preserved for future generations. This picture is from one of our family vacations. What's particularly creepy about it is that the better technology, the better stonework is on the bottom. It's from the Incas out in the Andes Mountains. It's a site there, and it's clear that they lost the knowledge, and they started to repair their beautiful stone walls with little rocks that they could handle. They had lost the technology. Donald Rumsfeld said it best. There are known knowns, things you know you know. There are known unknowns, the things you know you don't know. But then there are unknown unknowns, the things you don't know you don't know. And that's actually understated it. The problem is, in knowledge, it's how wrong what we know is. Catastrophic thinking requires us to be skeptical of what we know. Too often, what we know is not true. And I have these shorts that I will later present. There's a number of videos here that I've already prepared to talk about truth and wisdom and substitutes or assertions for wisdom and truth. The types of knowledge, there are 16 types, and knowledge is made up of information, skills, and understanding acquired by experience, education, reasoning, or discovery. Preserving knowledge is a vast and awesome undertaking, and see the appendix again for more detailed leads to do your own studies. I also have mnemonic devices of all sorts of assertions that pass for knowledge, red herrings, assumptions, fallacies, and statistics. And then I've made up a couple checklists for myself. Topics and rig slams. Catastrophes can destroy knowledge. However, we don't need a catastrophe to destroy knowledge. We are enemies to knowledge. It doesn't take a cataclysm. The burning of the Library of Alexandria in 48 BC by Caesar destroyed much of the writings and knowledge up to that time. Christians burned it again in 391, and the Muslims in 642. We are enemies of knowledge, not the least of which are our experts. Knowledge is often victimized by tossing the truth. We twist, obfuscate, slant, spin, and suppress. Pop culture and cancer culture is the most famous. Religions, Science, academia, medical, political, and media groups, especially experts, will toss the truth. And I have one of my favorite examples of cancer culture here on the wall. Nikolai Yezhov in 1937 stood next to Stalin, but then he was liquidated and they redid the photo and they took him out of it. Just look at Stalin and the secret police and you'll get an idea of what cancer culture looks like. Martin Luther wanted to get rid of certain books from the Bible because they didn't fit his narrative of salvation by faith alone. Revelation, James, and Hebrews were three such books that he didn't like. Thomas Jefferson was even worse. He cut all the supernatural and miraculous passages. He focused only on the teachings of Christ. Most of what survived was Luke 2 and 3, Mark 1, and Matthew 3. The Jeffersonian Bible is about 200 pages long. Many books have been omitted by the church itself. During canonization, they determined which books fit the narrative. And they limited it to 46 Old Testament and 27 New Testament and 75 books of antiquity that were around about the time that shortly after Jesus lived, were excluded. List in the appendix. And then the other thing that the Bible is books that are, or references mentioned in the Bible that no longer exist. The most disturbing is 1 Corinthians 5:9 refers to an earlier letter from Paul to the Corinthians. So really 1 Corinthians is 2 Corinthians, 2 Corinthians is 3 Corinthians. Numbers 21:14 refers to the book of the wars of the Lord, no longer exists. 1 Kings 11:41 refers to the book of the Acts of Solomon, no longer exists. Full lists or access to them are in the appendix. But it's worse than that. Entire civilizations have existed and been lost. There are only vague allusions to the fact that they once existed. I have an appendix for 16 such civilizations. Their laws, history, language, and accomplishments are all lost. And modern academia derides them as myths, legends, fantasies. An example is Troy. For many, many years, Troy was dismissed by academia as a legend or myth. And then there are ruins in Turkey called the Hizarlik. They were credited by Charles McLaren, the editor of the Encyclopedia Britannica, to make the connection that Hizarlik is Troy. Lots of knowledge has been lost. You can find a lot of it on the internet. How were the 900-ton stones at Baalbek put into temples, let alone the millions of tons of stones in Egypt's pyramids? There are perfectly round man-made boreholes in stones in the monoliths in Peru, Egypt, and elsewhere. Lost technologies like granite vases that we couldn't even replicate today. Greek fire, Roman concrete, Roman flexible glass are all things that have been lost. Then there's the Antikythera mechanism that was found at the bottom of the ocean. How was it made? It's got gears on it. Pyrrhus maps. The challenge is to preserve knowledge. Catastrophic thinking's purpose is to formulate public policies to help survive catastrophes. And to survive catastrophes means preservation of our knowledge base. And the thing they don't tell you is that everybody who's planning for the future, most likely, in a catastrophic assumption, will be dead. All that will be left are some illiterate nomadic peoples, like survived Noah's flood, and perhaps cave dwellers. And I saw a movie in my youth called David and Lisa, released in 1962. Very powerful movie about what it would be like to be in a generation following the apocalypse. We make some primitive efforts to preserve knowledge by time capsules. They're stored in ground where they're protected from groundwater, destruction of the vault. It's really pretty pathetic. Paul Revere and Sam Adams prepared a time capsule in 1795, stored it in the Massachusetts State House. It was found. They had lost track of it, and then they found it again and opened it in 2015. The Crypt of Civilization had some materials in it. The Westinghouse time capsule had materials in it and was buried in the 1939 New York World's Fair. There are many examples in Wikipedia. Of course, Wikipedia won't survive a catastrophe either. It'll be wiped out, as will all electronic records. The Rosetta Project is a global collaboration to create a near-permanent record for 1,500 human languages, rosettaproject.org. And then the Global Seed Vault in Norway, seedvault.no/, where they try to open a gene bank. The best book I found on how to rebuild civilization in the aftermath of the cataclysm is right here, The Knowledge, How to Rebuild It. The problem when I was reading this book was, this book won't be around. All the copies will be destroyed in a cataclysm. The time to read this book is before the catastrophe, and then make efforts to protect it. Planners are not thinking catastrophically. I have 6 public service announcement videos. Ask if the project would survive all 6 perils. Most noteworthy are sea levels. During the dinosaurs, when the Earth was much hotter, sea levels were 200 meters or 660 feet higher. Only half was due to melting of all ice and ice caps. The other half was due to thermal expansion of the waters in the ocean. Civilization is vulnerable to the sea levels when Antarctica melts. Smithsonian is close to sea level. The 2 primary locations for the cloud are in Silicon Valley and near Washington, D.C., both near sea level. Half the world population, 40% at least, are in libraries and universities, are all within 50 miles of the sea. Even the entrance to the Global Seed Vault is almost at sea level. Really short-sighted. We're smug and arrogant in what we know. We must be skeptical of what we think we know. The catastrophic thinking and another one, The Art of Thinking, posters are available at my website. Give you a checklist of how to go through analyzing your thinking. And then I have various shorts that I'll be introducing. The 7 Faux Pas pious Christians commit in their first 5 minutes in heaven. You'll be surprised. 7 neglected Bible verses that don't fit their narrative, but they're part of the Bible. 7 observations about the pleasure organ of females, which nobody seems to know about. Conclusion, catastrophic policy formation must include protection of our knowledge base. Rebuilding our civilization requires technology and the knowledge on how to use it. We don't know which one of those PSAs, perils, worldwide catastrophes are going to go wrong, but something will. Preparedness is essential for the civilization's survival as well as for yours. Please support my efforts to become essential. Like, subscribe, comment, and share. There's my trademark. I have the essentialconceptsinc.com. Has materials on it. And I will end every video with a prayer for peace. Thank you.